Hey everyone, welcome to our broadcast all on getting started at home with craft vinyl cutters. I have Kelly here with me. Hi, Kelly. And we are super excited to talk about this topic with you because we're all working from home now. And so we're working with these small vinyl cutters, and it's not something that we typically educate on a ton because we live in the heat transfer vinyl world where we're just constantly talking about materials and all the different things that you can make with them. And then some advanced equipment. So we never really get to touch on these fun little craft cutters that a lot of people are using from home. So Kelly has the Silhouette Cameo 4, right?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, so that's the latest version that Silhouette has come out with. And I'm working with the Cricut Explore Air 2. There is a Cricut Maker that I believe is their latest piece of equipment that they've come out with as far as vinyl cutters or plotters go. But I will say, based off of some research and what people seem to love about Cricut is that Cricut Maker or the Cricut Explore Air 2. So I think that this is still a really popular cutter, and I'm really excited to be able to cover that with you guys today. So Kelly, if you want to go ahead and get us started off with the Silhouette Cameo, what we're doing today, guys, is really comparing these two cutters side by side. And so Kelly's going to show the Silhouette Cameo 4, and then I will jump in and show the Cricut Explore Air 2. We also have Stacy on with us today. Hi, Stacy. She is going to help us with comments and questions that you guys have. So we'll be sure to answer any questions or comments that you guys have throughout the duration of our webinar. So feel free to jump in and ask any questions that you have. But I'll hand it off to Kelly now. I'll stop talking.
Hey guys. Okay, so like Jenna said, I have the Silhouette Cameo 4, and it is a Bluetooth model. It also has the capability for you to use a 12-inch roll. So I'm just going to go over a couple of quick features about this unit. I will say that there's not a lot of bells and whistles. It is pretty much a plug-and-play vinyl cutter. First, when you plug right here on both sides, or on this side, you have the USB connector, and then you also have the AC adapter. Now, I'm going to slide this forward. This is completely white. There was another option for red if you want some color in your life, but I'm just going to rotate this because you can't really see the lights on this. Everything is blending in, but this section right here illuminates, and then the Cameo also illuminates, and you guys there we go, just barely can see the glow. Now, that's the only buttons that you have, and it's just all touch. It's not even really a button. Both of these arrows right here, like I said, you guys can't see it. That is where you help feed your material, and then of course retrieve it once it's done cutting. And then you do have that Bluetooth capability, like I was saying. I am hardwired in, but you should be able to cut with Bluetooth connectivity. Sorry, wasn't coming out. All right, so you get the cutter just like this. It does have a lid that you can slide it back. Right here, you have option 1 and option 2 for 2 different types of cuts. The blade goes in option 1. Now, this comes in, see if you guys can see it. This comes with your box. There's a couple of other accessories that it comes with. I'll touch on that in just a minute. You cannot see the blade, so if you are pushing down, then the blade comes out. But I actually like that this is protected. That way, if you are carrying or moving it, you don't have to worry about the sharp blade on the outside. All you do is just pop it in, and then you slide to where it clicks, and it just has a little pop. That's all you have to do. There is this little notch right here that loosens and tightens the pinch roller, which you can see as it's moving as well. So now the last thing that I was saying is that it does have the capability to actually feed from a 12-foot roll. Now, because I don't have the flat surface right here, what you do is you just pop up these two little corners, you set your roll in there, and then you do have some wheels that helps feed it, and then that material is actually going to feed through this slot, just keeping it nice and crisp as it's going through the cutter. Okay, so that is just the quick review over everything that this does. There's, like I said, there's not a lot of bells and whistles. Now, in your box, you obviously get your cutter, you get a mat, and then you get these little covers. Now, these are fantastic because if you have multiple different blades, maybe you're just not wanting to use this for vinyl, or you have different thicknesses of vinyl, so glitter flake, your foam, thermofilm, all of that, you could actually put this little case over each blade that you have, and that is how you would recognize, you know, what blade is which. So I actually appreciate this. It keeps you organized. Otherwise, everything you would buy would be in this, you know, white color. There's other ways that you could classify each blade. I just actually enjoy that they chose little capsules. All right, you don't get a weeder in this package. This one is just the box. It was not a bundle, and you don't get any material. You just get the blade and the mat, and then, of course, the cutter to get yourself going. So if you are going to go with this model, you need to pick up a couple of extra accessories just to get yourself ready to actually heat apply. Okay, the next thing I am going to show you is the software. Now, in the box, you obviously get a manual, and then there is a how to get started sheet that gives you the link to actually go directly to where you need to, and then download the software. And same thing for the Silhouette Studio. All of that information is in there. It's very, very simple. There's no CD-ROM. You don't need a disc. It's all off of the web. Okay, so I am, Jenna, should we go into art? Should I go into Silhouette Studio, or you think that's best?
Yeah, I would say let's go ahead and dive into art so that we can see a little bit more of the back end of Silhouette Studio. I do have a quick question, though, because I want to be able to compare the cutters as best as possible. So you mentioned that the Silhouette Cameo allows you to feed in a 12-inch roll.
Yep.
How much material does it allow you to cut it once? Because I know rolls can vary anywhere between like 5 yards as big as 25 yards. So how much can it actually cut if we're feeding that roll through?
So I do not know that answer, but as you are going over it, I will pull up I will get the manual and I'll check for sure, and then I'll just answer it then.
I'm actually just going to Google it real quick, so you can go ahead and dive in.
Perfect, okay.
I'm pretty sure it's like 24 feet, or no, I'm sorry. I'll take that back. I'm pretty sure it's 10 feet.
Oh, that's awesome, yeah.
I didn't know if you knew for sure, because with the Cricut, so that's one thing that is a light bulb for me immediately, is the Cricut. You are limited to 12.
24. Oh, yeah.
And you can cut up to 24 inches.
Yep.
But I'm pretty sure that if you are feeding in a roll with Silhouette, then you can actually get feet of material feeding through, which is a game changer, because the reason we're talking about this is because if you want to start a business from home and you're getting large orders,
Yep.
you want to be able to feed in that much material so that you're not sheeting down your rolls, because that's just so time consuming and wasteful.
Yep. I'm looking on the floor right now and I've got scraps from, cutting down a 20-inch roll. So 100%. If you don't find it in Google, then it's right there, so I can grab it. But yeah, things you should know, right? Okay, so you guys, next we're going to go ahead and go into art. Now, we are both designing in CADWorks Live, so then we will export our art and import it into whatever our cutting software is. For me, that is the Silhouette Studio. Again, that was free software that I just quickly downloaded. Didn't really have to do too much besides registering, and it was good to go. So I am going to show you the art that I am using. Now, for me, I actually got my art off of Love SVG. We love SVG. It's so easy to use and simple. And I'm doing a Santa-themed item today. So I will be applying on a 3001 Bella Canvas, just, simple, easy t-shirt. And then I am using one color today. This is our CADcut Ultra Weed. It is the best t-shirt material, cuts and weeds, and applies very, very easily. So I am going to share my screen now, and I will take you into CADWorks Live. I am going to walk you through exporting the art, and then I will completely import it and walk from the very beginning to the end in Silhouette Studio.
So while Kelly is bringing all of that up, I just want to make a quick mention. So CADWorks Live is actually a free online artwork program that we offer. All you have to do is go in and log in with an email and password, and your account is created, and you have access to free templates and clip art and designs. Now, I know with Silhouette Studio and also Cricut Design Space, you have to, you get some free art, don't get me wrong, but you have to pay for any of their clip arts and things like that. So we love CADWorks Live. So we're both going to be showing our designs from CADWorks Live and how you too can use this program and use it with your small 12-inch cutters, just like we're using today.
For sure. So a quick touch, with what Jenna was saying on CADWorks Live, I am not a graphic artist. I don't know anything about, Illustrator or Corel. So for me, CADWorks Live is a game changer when it comes to decoration. So as you can see on CADWorks Live, this was the image that we first imported from Love SVG. Now, in CADWorks Live, they make it very, very simple for you to bring in an image, vectorize it, manipulate it, change it. Now, the manipulation is very, very minimal, but it's enough to give you a really great design. So the first thing you would do is go to File and click Import, and then, of course, just select the file that you would be bringing in. From here, the next thing you would need to do is convert to a vector. Now, this button is not highlighted because I've already done that. Again, it is just click your colors, hit OK, and boom, it's done. For those of you that don't know what vector is, it's actually providing the outlines around the art, and what that does is it tells your cutter exactly where to cut. Okay, so now that we've just quickly briefed that, what I did is I wanted to show you guys how to do a two-color design. I'm only going to be cutting one color today, but just a little bit of, information. That way you could know that your options are endless when it comes to colors. So the first thing I did to create this solid background was I just double-clicked on my image, and then I went to Add Effect, and then I added a small contour. Now from here, I just click that and hit Open, And then I just adjusted the thickness of my outline. So here it says 0.1 and I went to 0.6. Now I'm not going to go ahead and adjust it, but this is what came out. I did change the background from gray to green. And then the next thing I did was I went in and I broke apart by colors. Now I know I'm just going very, very quickly on this art, but we have a lot to go over, so we're going to keep it brief. So once I broke it apart, that is how I got the background of the Santa, and then of course the front part, which I will only be cutting, which is the red, can now be separated. You can also go in and I'm going to show you something just really quick, and I have to get close to my computer, so forgive me. I need to align it, and I'm just going to put it right back in the center. If it will work. Okay, so now from here, I just want to stamp out, knock out the Santa is coming to town and the outline of the green. So I'm going to do back minus front. And then now you can see I have a top, I can have another top layer, and then of course the bottom layer. The reason why I did this was because if you actually wanted to make this, I'm just going to turn it black. Maybe you wanted this to be black glitter, then you could turn around and put this actually on top of your Ultra Weed versus doing just one color on the bottom. Okay. Just wanted to show you how you could do that, just to give you a little bit more information. I'm going to go ahead and remove this and then remove that. So next, I am going to hit export. Don't forget to save your art just in case. And here I've got Santa Final, and I'm going to save it as a PNG format. And let's just add a 0 in there so I know which one is which. All right, now that I have exported my art, you can't see it, but it has already been downloaded. So now I'm going to stop sharing this screen. Welcome back. And now I am going to start sharing Silhouette Studio. Now, Silhouette Studio is not web-based like CADWorks Live. It's an actual program that you do have to download, and it would live in your desktop or wherever else you may house your programs. Okay, so give me just a quick second. Looks like it's teasing me now. Okay. Just going to make sure you guys can see this. Perfect. All right, so this is Silhouette Studio. Now, if you paid for their library, or once you go ahead and register your equipment, this is where you would be able to access your favorites, fonts, designs. This is a really, really good tool. However, I can't pull from it right now. So, 1 second. Sorry, hit a button. Okay, so the next thing that we are going to do is I'm going to import my art, and then I'm going to walk you through the steps on actually cutting your art. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to do is either click the open file, or of course you can go to File. So I am going to go to Santa Final 0, and then it is bringing in my art. Now, as you can see, it brings exactly what is on that file. So if you have, 10 different arts and you want to be able to cut them all individually, then I would urge you to export each file individually and then import one by one. Now, something that is actually really cool with this is that if I go to send, we're not 100% ready, but I'm going to show you something. Whatever is on this, this grid is what is going to cut. So I could essentially cut my Santa is coming to town in red first, and then once we were done, I could drag it away and then finish cutting my background or my foreground or whatever else you need to do. So I found that very easy and simplified to do. I like as little steps as possible. So yes, that was a huge pro to me. Okay, so now that our design is imported, the next thing that we need to do is I prefer to have a cut line around this. Because we are using a 12 by 12 sheet in this particular situation, I just want an easier, border, easier way to weed. So all you have to do is click and drag the rectangle. You can make it whatever size that you need. And then I have to get close again. And then you can, oops, don't want to create another one. You have to go back up, click your cursor, and then you can actually move that box to be more in the center and just really kind of make it work best for you. Such a tiny little screen here, and I just want to make sure I have it correct. Okay, perfect. Next, now that we have our outline ready, our Santa is ready. We already checked it is outlined, it's vectored. Again, that's all that we need to do in this particular situation because we've imported our art. So we are going to head over to send. Oh, I'm going to show you one other thing really quick. Sorry, guys. Going back to design with vinyl, it's always important if your upside facing material, so the outside facing material, not the adhesive, is laid down on the carrier, you need to make sure that you mirror your art. If your material is adhesive side down, then you do not need to mirror. So in this case, we need to mirror. So if you go to Object, you can go ahead and select Mirror, and then you can flip vertically, horizontally, however you want it to. So mine just flipped it horizontally, and as you can see me trying to make sure it's correct, now our art is mirrored, and it went ahead and flipped the entire file, not just the particular art on the grid. All right, we're ready to go. Next up, we send. Okay, from here, once it's loading, it is showing you all of, there we go, now he's all in the box. It's showing your grid, it's showing your cut outlines, and we are pretty much ready to go besides changing the material that you're cutting. Now, instead of adjusting any type of settings on the cutter, it will all be done here in your Silhouette Studio. So the first thing we need to make sure is that you are on Tool 1, and you can see that that's selected with the drop-down menu. Remember when I was going over the blades, Tool 1 is actually where our blade is sitting. So here we're going to, just tell it what type of material we have. Now, there's not Stahls products already programmed into Silhouette Studio. So the best thing to do is go down to your heat transfer material. You can see there's already several in here, but just remember you will need to do some testing prior to getting started, just to make sure you get the proper cut. So I'm going to hit smooth because Ultra Weed is very smooth. And then it's already got some programming in here with a force of 4, speed at 8. For the most part, I am going to adjust this to 5. This is how it cut prior very, very easily. So just a click of a button, all I did was adjust it to 5.
And just a quick note, as Kelly is reviewing the cut specs for Ultraweed, we also offer cut settings for both Cricut and Silhouette on our website, excuse me, that give you the exact force, speed, etc. for every material that we offer. So just keep that in mind, because we have to test our products with Silhouette. We're not necessarily using the products that Silhouette offers as their own heat transfer vinyl, which is what all of their presets are set up with. So just keep in mind, for the most part, our stuff is going to work with what they have recommended. But if you're doing your test cuts and whatnot, and some things aren't turning out right, just refer to our craft cutter settings and guidelines for our products.
Perfect. Now, as Jenna was saying, you can go and find those cutting specs online. So instead of having to manually adjust it every single time, there is a Save As button, and that will allow you to save what you need. That way you can, keep coming back to it versus having to go in and adjust consistently. Now, really, really important is there is a test button. You can click this and it's going to take just a little notch out of the side of the material. It's a very, very quick and easy to test. Just make sure when you go and you move forward that it is not in your way further. There we go. Couldn't get it out. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is, you can see it says load media, but it is lighting up the send button. It won't make any sense to cut if we don't have the material. So this is my roll of Ultraweed, and then I am just going to cut a sliver off. Now, one thing, if you do prefer to purchase rolls and get what you need to, if you are a very particular person and you are trying to use every ounce or every section of that 12 by 12 sheet, you can always get a slicer. This is the Paper Studio, and then that way you can have the really, really sharp, straight edges. And then just maximize your material. Now, mine is, let's see. Okay, so what instead of measuring exactly, but I'm so close, hold on. I got to set this down. Bear with me. Okay, so I am slightly over on the adhesive part. Now, with the mat is what this is called, there is an arrow up, and you can also see that it is labeled with the inches going across. Now, I am just going to quickly trim this part. My design is 10 inches in height, and we are like 9.8, I think, in width. Okay, so next up, all you do is just slide. There is a little gray button. I'm just going to click back really quick to make sure you guys can. Nope, you can't. Can't even see what I'm doing. One sec. Okay. Well, I guess maybe you can down at the bottom. So now that we have, we've cut our sheet from our roll. This is the slicer I was talking about using. I didn't need to use it today. I just used some scissors to trim down my sheet. This is the arrow that I was saying you will just stick right at the edge. Now, the one thing I did notice about this cutter particularly is that it does have some, bear with me. We've got some grooves right here, what I'm going to call just little speed bumps. And then there also is another raised section right here, which is telling you exactly where the edge of the cutting mat should be. So it is important to make sure you are right along that edge. Otherwise, your roller won't properly grasp your mat, and then it'll just start cutting all wonky. So I am just going to make sure it is right at the edge of the roller, lined up with that gray line. And then this little button right here, that's all you have to do to feed your mat into this Cameo. Now, I'm going to take you back to my application window. Okay, so now you can see it says it's ready. It's lit up in green. It is ready to go. So I'm going to send this to cut, and then I am going to put the camera back on the full screen so you can kind of just see what it is going to do. Now, if you did not mirror your image, this I think is genius when it comes to the Silhouette Studio, because we all have those forgetful moments. It'll say send mirrored or send as is. So if I did not mirror this design, I can hit send mirrored and it's going to go ahead and mirror it for me. I'm going to send as is because of course it's already ready to go. And then it's saying some of the cut lines in this design are overlapping, and we're good to go. I have cut this before, so I know there's not any issue.
While that's cutting, I'm going to go ahead and answer a couple questions that have come in from attendee AW.
I'm going to mute.
So first we have comparing the Silhouette mat. How would you cut longer than the mat if it would not fit on the mat? How can you cut more than the mat? So actually with Silhouette, you are not required to use the mat. Some people prefer to use the mat. But whenever you're loading in rolls, you actually do not have to use the mat. You can adjust the cut settings so that it is not cutting the material, assuming that there is a mat under it. Actually, the first time I ever got started with the Silhouette, I never used the mat. I would just feed in the materials. And then whenever I started using the Cricut, I swear by the mat. So really it's based off of preference, but ultimately if you're going to feed in a roll of material, you don't have to worry about using that mat. The paint rollers will hold on to the material without it. And I think that that is kind of a follow-up to your other question about being able to cut almost 20 some feet. I'm gonna rephrase that. I'm pretty sure it's 10 feet. I don't want to give the wrong information. And then someone had also followed up on that comment earlier and commented and said, I think it's the Silhouette Pro that does up to 10 feet. So that would be a little bit different of a cutter than what you're seeing here. And then also another thing to keep in mind about Silhouette is, although Kelly's working with the latest and greatest from them, she's working with a 12-inch cutter, and Silhouette also offers a 15-inch cutter. So for those of you that are buying our 15-inch rolls in Ultra Weed or Glitter Flake, or no, Glitter Flake's not one of them. I take that back. That's a 20-inch roll. But any of those 15-inch rolls, then consider the 15-inch Silhouette vinyl cutter. I want to say it's a couple $100 more than the price point of the 12-inch, which I believe is like $399 or $299 ballpark. Kelly, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think you're muted though. Okay, okay. So yeah, definitely consider your options if you're looking at Silhouette and what you're ultimately going to do with it as far as starting vinyl cutting at a lower end, because 12-inch can get you pretty far. People have been doing it forever. But if you want to be able to feed in those rolls, not have to worry about using a cutting mat, then that 15-inch option could be, a little bit more beneficial and save you in the long long run when it comes to wastes of your material and having to make up the cost of that or eat it, depending on how you're setting your price points for the end good.
Now, Jenna, I actually have a question for you. So I have thoroughly enjoyed using the mat, and I initially thought this is going to be the biggest pain in the butt. Just, it's very easy to remove, but I'm like, why would you want to use a mat when I'm so used to using something different and the material just feeds in? If you overcut, what is the chance of you damaging, your equipment with it being more of a, there's not really a cutting strip?
Right. So I don't necessarily think that you will damage your machine. You'll just puncture through your material, because ultimately Silhouette will, allot for that cutting mat being there. So whenever they're setting the force of the blade and how deep it goes through the material, they're also thinking about that cutting mat being underneath there. So there's definitely a lot of testing and stuff that goes into it. But I agree with you as far as the cutting mat goes. Why would you use it? Ultimately, you want to be able to cut scraps that you guys have laying around, so that you don't just have materials, just that you can't use, that are just scrap pieces. And then because of the type of motor, and I think this is key when it comes to the cutting mat, because of the type of motor that these machines run on, it's called a stepper motor. And it's just not as advanced as some of the industry grade vinyl cutters that run on a servo motor. So the motors really play a big role in how the blades cut the material. So if you're working with a super athletic heat transfer vinyl, such as Premium Plus, for example, if you're not using that cutting mat and you're feeding that material into the Silhouette, and that blade is just dragging across the material, because that's how the stepper motor runs that blade, it's going to cause skipping and random perforation through the material. So it's going to make weeding a nightmare. Yes. So cutting mats really come into play with these types of cutters, because if you're working with more professional heat transfer vinyl, more advanced heat transfer vinyl, then it's going to help cut those products better.
It's easy.
I feel like that was a long-winded answer, but it's so important to know that the cutting mats do help with some of those more advanced materials, such as Premium Plus, because it has such a high stretch. Stepper motor just drags the blade across the material, as opposed to a servo motor cutter that actually picks up the blade and turns it and does the tangential emulation and all of that. So you'll learn all of that in the webinar whenever we review the advanced cutters such as Roland and Graphtec, and why having that servo motor is so lucrative when using some of those other, I shouldn't say lucrative, but essential when using some of those other products.
Okay, so if you guys did not catch what Jenna was saying, we will dive more into that next week. So if you have questions on a stepper versus a servo, do pop them in the comments. But next, I think it's Monday, right?
Next week Monday.
There's a whole nother webinar on kind of going to the next step of cutter. So if any of that was just like, what? But you went into perfect detail, Jenna. So it was perfect answer. Okay, you guys, we are done cutting. What it does is it doesn't send it out the back, it sends it right back forward. And all you have to do, because this is pretty much locked in place, is hit the release button and you are done. So all I do is just remove my vinyl, and then I'm going to start weeding. So that is pretty much it on the Cameo, unless, Jenna, did I leave anything off?
I think that you cover pretty much everything. Okay. These aren't complex cutters. You know, I would say the most complex thing about Silhouette is the design studio. And it's just because you have to learn all of the tips and tricks and what all the different tools are. So, I mean, these are as simple as it gets, in my opinion. I just think it's really a plug and play type deal.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those, once you just figure out what you need, meaning being able to mirror, add a weeding box. You can add outlines in your art, you guys, and I did not show you that. So if we have time after Jenna, then I can just pop back into it. But no, if you do import art that doesn't have the cut outlines, it will trace for you. So I am going to move some things around. I'm going to let Jenna take the stage and go over the Cricut, and then I'll start weeding. And
hey, Kelly, before we switch over to the Cricut, there was a question that I received earlier about Silhouette Studio.
Yeah.
So for this was a comment that Dave had wrote. He said he can see that you're creating in CADWorks Live and exporting to Silhouette Studio. Is it somehow possible to create artwork in Silhouette Studio and export it to a roll in GS24? I said I didn't believe so, but I wanted to verify with you guys.
Let's check. I'm actually going to screen.
No.
Okay, there you go.
The answer is no. So Silhouette and Cricut, they are both just very proprietary. They love having their own brand. They want you to use all of their stuff. So when it comes to the design space for both of these brands, they want you to stick to using their products. So you can't actually export and use on another vinyl cutter from their design softwares. Okay, so Cricut Maker 2. I have the mint version. As you can see, these come in a variety of colors. I don't know if color is really of importance to you guys, but this is the mint one. And as you can see, very sleek looking. I absolutely love this vinyl cutter. I just think it looks pretty. And it's not something that I want to store away after I'm done using because it looks pretty sitting out. That's important to me. It might not be as important to you. But then there's this little open button over here. And once I hit that, it's going to open up nice and slow, has a nice, beautiful presentation to it. And then you'll notice that everything looks very, very similar to what we just saw with the Silhouette Cameo 4. We have our pinch rollers. We have our A and B cartridges. So B is what your blade is going to set into. And then if you're ever using a pen, that is what your A cartridge is going to represent there. So you can stick a little pen in there and do stenciling or calligraphy if you're doing any type of paper projects. So that's one thing that's one of many things that people really love about these cutters is you can do so much with them. You don't have to just do vinyl. You don't have to just do materials. You can do papers. You can do cork. You can do wood. There's so many different things that you can do with these vinyl cutters. And that is why we are given different blade options, different pen options, because they all serve a specific purpose. So you can see here, this is the blade that I am working with. This is the fine point blade. It's different in that you can actually see the blade in there. You can tell that it's nice and sharp and good to go. And then you just set that in place and then you lock it and then it's good to go. So really it's very simple to work with. All of the stuff that you need to be able to run this machine comes in the box. And the pinch rollers are really, really easy to set up. So they're good. As soon as you get the cutter, you don't do anything with those pinch rollers. They stay as they come. I don't have to worry about locking it in place, which is different than what the Silhouette offers. Now, one thing that I do love about the Cricut is that it gives you these little tabs here that allow you to store things in here. So if I had extra pens that I wanted to store, I could just open that up, keep them in there, and then they'll stay locked in place whenever I close this baby up. All right, same thing goes for over here. If I want to store my extra blade, this is a different blade holder and another blade that comes with the machine. And actually, I take that back. I don't believe the second blade came with the machine, but a second blade holder did. So very important. I love that they have two different colors here. So we have the silver, which is my fine point blade, and then we have the black, which can hold a different blade type. That's really going to help me whenever I'm cutting different material types. So I keep my fine point blade for cutting most of my basic heat transfer vinyls. But if I wanted a different degree blade that maybe had a deeper cut or sharper point to it to cut twills or fabrics or anything like that, then I have a different blade holder that will indicate that it's a different style of blade that's stored in there. And that just helps keep things organized, similar to what Kelly was mentioning with the Silhouette and it offering different blade skins. Okay. All right. So that is the basics. The one thing I do want to cover is this little dial over here and these buttons, because this is honestly what makes the machine so stinking user-friendly. So you can see here, and I'm going to lift this up so that you guys can really see that. So this is my power button. This is going to get this turned on and running for me. I have a pause button here. If I maybe sent a design and forgot to mirror, I can pause that real quick and it'll stop my project immediately. The little Cricut button here, that's our go button. That just is going to allow me to send the design from my computer to my vinyl cutter. And then my arrow button here is going to help me load in my cutting mat. All right, so very simple, very self-explanatory, nothing that I need to learn new terminology with. It just all clicks and makes sense. And that's why I love the Cricut, because it is so, so user-friendly. Now, this little dial is another thing that I love, because this is helping me understand blade thickness, different materials that need to cut at different blade depths, and things like that. All right, so we have paper, vinyl, iron-on, light cardstock, bonded fabric. I honestly have no idea what that is, and poster board. But we are obviously heat transfer vinyl experts here at Stahls. So we're always going to be showing heat transfer vinyl projects with these cutters. And these are just helping me. I can turn this dial based off of what different materials I have loaded in. So for example, if I was going to cut ultra weed like Kelly did on the Silhouette Cameo, I would just have my iron-on selected. Now there are extra little dials in between each labeled dial. So that always just means that it's the plus, it's the next level up. So if I need more blade depth because I'm working with a thicker material, I'll just turn that dial to that next point on there. And then that means it is increasing my thickness. So if I'm cutting ultra weed and I want it to be on iron-on, but then I load in my CAD Cut Soft Foam, which is a thicker product, then I'm actually going to go up 2 more dials. And the reason that I'm doing that is because honestly, that's where we tested the product at, and that's where it cuts best. But if I was going to do a thicker product like thermofilm or glitter flake, then iron-on plus would be a great option as well. But like I said earlier, we have all of the cut settings that you could possibly need for all of our heat transfer vinyls that work with these vinyl cutters. So you don't have to worry about the guessing game or doing a ton of testing to try to figure it out for yourself. So the product that we are going to be vinyl cutting today is soft foam. That's why I mentioned that a little bit earlier. And it requires a light cardstock setting. And then I can actually go into the back end of Cricut, which I'm going to show you here shortly, and adjust that manually if I need to. And that's very important as a person running a vinyl cutter, because after time goes on, your blade is going to start to dull, which means you're going to need to manage those materials and adjust blade depthness and things like that. Now, in addition to the vinyl cutter, I do want to show you the cords. They're universal cords. They look exactly like most vinyl cutter cords do. So this one is going to be my power cord. All right, so it's just a little circular guy. Just plug that into the back. All right, so it's on the back left-hand side. And then same thing with USB. All right, so you're gonna see the same thing that you already saw with the Silhouette. It's using universal connection cables because you never know where you might just have to pick one up at instead of having to order it and wait for that to come in. So I do like that they use the universal cords so that you don't have to worry about if something were to happen, they short and you can just run out real quick and grab them. All right, so I plugged in my power connection. So I'm gonna hit the power button and you can probably hear it turn on. It's running. All right, so these vinyl cutters, like I mentioned earlier, they run on stepper motors, which means they're going to be very loud. If you put this next to a vinyl cutter that runs on a servo motor, you're going to hear these types of vinyl cutters over those significantly. Anytime I've worked with a vinyl cutter that runs on a servo motor, it's just, the only thing I can really hear is the blade cutting and the fan. All right, so those vinyl cutters do have fans that suction the material down, so you're getting a nice flat cut, which is nice because it doesn't require a cutting mat at that point. So I have my blade loaded into the B station. I'm just gonna make sure that's nice and flush in there. And of course we get our cutting mats. So I'm not gonna hold this up because this got a little dirty and I'm kind of embarrassed by it. But there's just like a paw mark from when my dog stepped on it at one point. But at this point, all I do, actually, let me get my material loaded on here first. So as I mentioned, we're gonna be working with soft foam. And I did a test cut that I wanna show you guys because I'm just amazed at the amount of detail that soft foam was able to pick up, because this is a smaller design. This could easily be a left chest design or maybe a back yoke print. But look at that date and the text, the small text there that this was able to pick up. And this is a thick product. So for those of you that aren't familiar with soft foam, you can really see how much that sticks up off of the carrier. It's very dimensional, super popular product right now because dimension is extremely in when it comes to custom apparel. So my vinyl cutter is powered on, and all I have to do, see this little, it looks like a little tag, but that is an indicator that is going into my vinyl cutter this way. And anytime you are loading on the heat transfer vinyl to the cutting mat, you always want to load it shiny side down. Right, the shiny side is the side of the carrier, right? So you can see that that has a little bit of a gloss to it. That carrier is gonna go flush to the cutting mat. Cricut offers a squeegee tool that if you wanted to make sure there weren't any air bubbles or anything in this that could cause an uneven cut line, you could squeegee it down. I don't find that you have to do that a ton unless you have like a brand new cutting mat that has extra stickiness to it. So this just nice and flush on there. And the only thing I have to do is put the edge of my cutting mat right up to the pinch rollers that are on the left and right hand sides, and then hit my arrow. My Cricut is obnoxiously loud. So whenever I send my design to cut, I'm actually going to mute it. Okay. So you guys, I laugh every time this thing runs because it is so obnoxious. It's been with my Cricut's been with me for a long time, and it might need oiled up or something, but the motor just sounds terrible. So we're gonna get her fixed eventually, but right now it's just loud, and I promise you that it is not that loud. So if you got a brand new Cricut right out of the box, it's not going to sound that bad. So it just happens to be how my cutter decides to run. All right, so everything's good to go. Now let's go ahead and show you artwork setup so that you guys can get an idea of what Cricut Design Space looks like on the back end and how I get my artwork from CADWorks Live into that design space. So I'm going to share my screen with you. This is CADWorks Live, so the same free online artwork program that Kelly was working with. She showed you some of the features, so I'm not going to spend too much time there. We do have a ton of education on this program, so if you want to learn more about this free online artwork program, just go head over to our Stahls TV YouTube channel. You'll be able to find a ton of tutorials on creating artwork in this designer. Okay, so I am not going to do as festive of a design as Kelly did today. I'm keeping it super basic. If you guys have customers that want to bring their branded logo to you, this is a super easy way to take the logo that they've given you and create a vectorized format of it. So they can send you a PNG, they can send you a PDF, it could be a JPEG. It doesn't matter what it is. If they have a good representation of what their logo is, you can import it into CADWorks Live and vectorize it. So for those of you that are very new to vector art, that is the type of file that a vinyl cutter needs to read in order to cut it. So our vinyl cutters are not printers. They don't read color, they read cut lines. So cut lines are exactly how this artwork needs to be represented. And that is why we run into methods such as tracing in Silhouette Studio, because we need to be able to create those cut lines in order to use the vinyl cutter and cut these images out. All right, so what we'll do here is file and go to export. So Kelly walked us through that. You export your file. I always export as a PNG because it creates a nice big file for me to work with within Cricut Design Space. So bringing up Cricut Design Space, we're going to go home because I want to show you exactly how I got this artwork in here. So I'm going to go to New Project and go to Upload. And you can see that that's been loaded in there. However, if I go to Upload Image, I can go to my Download section. I can grab that logo, and that's going to bring up the image. Okay, so it gives you an example of the file types that this can take. So I exported this as a PNG, and now I just have to create those cut lines. So what I need to do is go to, I just need to select an image type. I could go with simple, but because there is some detail in here within the text, the small text on the sides, I'm gonna go to moderately complex just so that it doesn't miss any cut lines. Okay. Now, if I were doing a print cut option, which is achievable with the Cricut, it does read crop marks and it does do contour cutting for printed designs, then I would want to use the moderately complex option, or the advanced, the complex option. All right, so this is giving me an example of the design that I just uploaded. I'm going to hit continue, and then it's going to ask me two things. It's going to ask if I want to save it as a print then cut image, or if I want to save it as a cut image. Since we are vinyl cutting, all I need is that cut image. So I'm going to select save as cut image, and I'm going to hit save. and then it is now imported into my image library. So I can select that design and then choose to import this, and it's going to bring it up into my design space. This is my, this is where I do all of my artwork. This is where I can edit, I can change color, I can break things apart if I need to. Maybe I'm working with a couple different colors. Those are all options within this designer. We are limited on time, so I'm not going to spend too much time there. But I am going to size this down. I know that I want to do a full front print. So I'm going to size that, and then I'm going to select make it. So anytime you're working with your artwork within Cricut Design Space, it gives you the option to edit as you see fit, and import any designs that you need, and you can vectorize by importing and selecting what pieces you want vectorized. And then once you see your artwork on the screen and you are ready to create this design, all you're going to do is go to make it, and then it's going to bring up a representation of what the design is going to look like on your cutting mat. All right, so this is showing you your cutting mat. It's showing you where the design is going to cut on your cutting mat, so you know exactly how much space to allot for on your heat transfer vinyl. Now, if you're working with 12 by 12 sheets of heat transfer vinyl, it's no worry. All you have to do is slap it on there. But if you're working with scrap pieces, then this is game changing for you, because you can adjust where this lies on the cutting mat. So if I wanted this to cut down further, I could. But since I have a pretty solid 12-inch sheet on there, I'm just going to cut it in the upper left-hand corner. Of course, they have the mirror option here, so I'll select mirror. Now, if I wanted to work with a larger cutting mat, I do have the ability to adjust this. So, for example, if I am working with a 12 by 24 inch, that allows me to cut more material lengthwise, then I could select that. I am just working with a 12 by 12, so I'll keep that there, but I just wanted to show you guys that so you know you have the option to adjust that. But our mirror button is right there. I love that it's right there, right before you're getting ready to send it to cut, because it's a really quick, hey, don't forget, if you need to mirror, make sure you mirror. All right, and then I'll hit continue. And then it's gonna have me connect my vinyl cutter to my computer. So I just grab that USB and plug it in. It's gonna recognize it, and it's going to ask me, you know, is the material that I have the dial turned to correctly? So earlier I showed you guys the dial. It's showing me exactly what I have selected on that dial right here. And then it gives me the ability to adjust my speed. So there's only one speed, and this is one thing I noticed is a big comparison difference between Cricut and Silhouette, is that Cricut, you have the option to do fast mode, and it automatically selects that speed for you, whereas you can tell the Silhouette how much speed you want it to have. So there's just one speed option here. And then it tells me here that when my flashing go button is flashing on my Cricut, I can hit that and it will send my design to cut. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and adjust. Let me move my coffee before that spills. All right, so you can see my button flashing right here. I'll just hit that and then it's gonna start cutting my design. As I mentioned, this is super loud, so we're gonna make sure I'm muted so that you guys do not have to listen to that painful sound. And I will hand it over to Kelly to finish her project while my design is cutting, and I will get the weeding and everything done. All right.
Hey guys, okay, so we have finished weeding. It was a very, very easy weed. Like I said, ultra weed, kind of the name of the material. I did have a couple of pieces that had just, wanted to hang on just a little bit. So I just took an X-Acto knife, in this case when this one rolls, and I just trimmed it The perfectionist in me just wanted a very, very clean and smooth line. Okay, I am using Hotronix Auto Clam. And like I said, I am just using a Bella Canvas 3001. I need to rotate. I do have an 11 by 15 platen in here before I get going. Okay, we're good. Just making sure that my art will actually fit. For me, I'm just going to go ahead and thread. Now, one of the reasons why I chose Ultra Weed is because, one, it's a great t-shirt material. It's extremely thin. Two, is that it applies starting at 260 to 300 degrees. Now, I'm going to step in front just to make sure this is center, and then I will get out of the way. I actually prefer the larger platen, just so I can get a better, middle point. Okay, I'm good with this. I am going to use a cover sheet and go ahead and pre-press. Right now, I am at 280, even though we can do 260. This isn't a tri-blend. It is, even though it's a thin shirt, it's not the thinnest shirt. It's not a rayon. So I prefer to just apply at 280. Just going to go ahead and pre-press. This also checks my pressure. I'm at a 3 and we should be at medium, so I am going to just adjust. All right, now I am just a little over 2 fingers down from the neckline. Because it is a larger transfer, I'm going to slide it down just a hair, and I am closer to 3. Okay, it does apply for 10 to 12 seconds, and we are at 11, so I'm meeting in the middle for that. Now, this is also a hot peel, so I'll be able to just peel immediately, and then our total project will be complete. I need more room. Now, I always save large scraps because I just throw vinyl on the ground and then I'll use that and I'll go on the floor and it just picks it up easily. So instead of having to use a broom, I just use the leftover carrier. Okay, so let me just shake this out. This is our final look. Now, this it does have a matte hand, but it is just so soft. It's got some great movement with the garment, so it's not rigid by any means. So, she's done. Jenna, how's it coming over in your world?
It's great. I just finished weeding. Actually, no, I'm almost done weeding. I have a couple more pieces that need to come out, and then I can heat apply. But soft foam is super easy to weed. So the amount of time that it took Kelly to heat apply that, I've been almost done weeding this. So yeah, it's coming along over here. You guys probably saw comments. Both of us are sourcing our our garments from Bella Canvas. The product, once more, that I'm using to heat apply onto my Bella Canvas, 7505 is the item number. It's one of their new items from their Street Fleece collection. And I'm using a navy soft foam on a charcoal. I want to say it's charcoal, but it has a little bit of a cool tone to it. So I thought it would be a cool tonal effect for this brand's logo on this color. And I am using my pink craft press over here. It actually shut off on me because it idled for too long. I should have checked that earlier. So we may not get to the heat application today for this design because we are 11 minutes over. But while we are hopefully waiting for that to heat up, we can go ahead and answer any questions that have come in. And hopefully by that time, if you guys want to stick around for this application and see this be done, we can do that too. But Stacy, how are questions and comments?
They're going good. We actually do have a good question that came in earlier from Mark.
Okay.
He wants to know specifically if the material he's using can be compatible with the Cricut or the Silhouette. He uses a PSA Sports Twill with a low tack peel and stick adhesive. He wants to know if either of these craft cutters will be capable of cutting that material.
Yeah, so twills are commonly cut on both of these cutters. I think honestly, specifically because of the cutting mat and it being able to keep that twill in place. Because anytime you vinyl cut twill on some of those larger cutters, because there isn't a backing that comes with them, you have to mask it and then vinyl cut it. So yes, short answer, you can cut twill on these vinyl cutters. It's extremely helpful to use the cutting mat when cutting your twills. But I do not have cut settings for that. So definitely make sure you're doing your test cut, but the blades are capable of going deep enough to cut twill.
Perfect. And then the other question we got in, this is just kind of circling back to what we were talking about earlier, the business edition, CADWorks Live or Vector Cut and cut with a roll in GS24. I think a customer earlier chimed in and said that the business edition does give you more freedom to do so.
Okay. Yeah. So business edition is a new language to me. I didn't know Silhouette offered something like that. So I apologize for giving anybody any wrong information. I thought that I was, I thought that I knew what I was talking about apparently, but I don't. But no, you can, if that business edition does allow you to export your designs that was created in those design studios, then you can import those into CADWorks Live. Yeah.
They can type them in.
Yeah, if you guys can think of any questions that you guys have, definitely comment those in. We will answer them to our best ability of what we think is accurate information. My temperature of my heat press is only 211. I'm checking out the line that they just launched about a month or so ago. They have some really cool looks on there that are trending big time right now because of the time of year. And our soft foam heat transfer vinyl works perfectly on these fabrics because it's a low temp application and it just feels amazing paired with that fleece because of the dimension that it has. All right, but again, Facebook group, Heat Press for Profit. If you're not in there already, make sure you join the group and we will share our finished projects from today in there.
Perfect. I think that was it for questions. So you guys are all set.
All right. Thank you guys so much for joining. And Kelly, I had a blast being able to tag team this class with you.
We always have so much fun when we do it together. It's fun to see.
Yeah, we do.
The difference.
All right. Thank you guys.
Bye. See you later.